Welcome to Beyond the Broadsheet, a podcast by the Lincoln County News. We are a community newspaper based in Mid-Coast, Maine, and we provide the most comprehensive, in-depth coverage available anywhere of the 18 towns and one plantation that make up Lincoln County. My name is Johnathan Riley, and I'm a reporter here at the Lincoln County News. I usually cover the towns of Bremen, Bristol, South Bristol, and Monhegan.
I'm Molly Rains. I'm also a reporter here at the Lincoln County News, and I cover Waldoboro, Jefferson, and Somerville.
And I'm Piper Pavelich. I cover Dresden, Noblesboro, Whitefield, and Wiscasset.
And we also have our editor-in-chief with us today.
Hello, I'm Maia Zewert, and I will just be here to occasionally offer color commentary.
Beautiful. Well, we're going to go through the news this week, and later on we're going to discuss some of the choices we made about the Characters of the County column this month in celebration of the love that February presents us all. So, but first, let's get into the news of this week. Piper.
Yes.
Hey, dig the new guy.
Hey, dig the new guy.
What's going on over in Whitefield?
Over in Whitefield, they have a new EMS chief. Name's Michael Johnson. He's not new to the area. He's lived in Whitefield for about 15 years, but he did just start the job. He succeeds Julie Cowles. She was the EMS chief since about 2023, and she was doing it on a tentative basis. They had a need for somebody to fill the position, so she was doing it for a while, and then Michael came along, and she was like, I think you'd be good for this. So, he's been...
Why?
He's been volunteering with their fire department for the last 2 or so years, and he has been in the EMS industry for about 20 years, maybe.
Wow.
So
That's cool.
Yeah.
That gets at something that the other night, Chief Booker of Waldoboro EMS was giving a presentation to the Waldoboro Select Board. And I've heard him say in the past, and he reiterated it, that EMS is becoming viewed as more of a career. Mm-hmm. And it used to be something that people would volunteer to do, especially if they had healthcare training. But now there's it's more common to get high certifications like paramedic training and really make a career out of it, which is really, it sounds like kind of what this guy might be doing.
This actually isn't his full-time career.
Wow.
Yeah, he's actually doing this on I believe it's a volunteer basis with some sort of stipend.
Oh, that's cool.
But
I guess it makes sense because
yeah, outside of this, he's I think he said a mortgage inspector.
Whoa. Very different.
Whoa.
So that's something he started doing during the pandemic. Before that, he was
started
working
inspecting mortgages during the pandemic?
Yeah.
Tough.
Before that, he was working with the National Park Service, which is actually where he met his wife.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
that's cute.
Do you know more about that story? That sounds fun.
I just heard that they met when they were working on trails together.
Wow.
In Maine?
No, I don't know. I actually don't know where. I should have asked, but they've had assignments all throughout the country.
Trail work is grueling, so I
So-
feel like that's a big bonding activity.
Yeah, and the thing he used to do was specifically lead youth groups, so like high school and college age kids
Oh, cool.
Wow.
in that stuff. So
That's awesome.
Well, it sounds like a really
Yeah.
interesting person with a wide, breadth of experiences taking that position.
definitely.
So, well, it sounds like they're lucky to have him.
Yeah.
And Jonathan, you went in depth on some very up in the air ideas about how we're going to be driving through Newcastle, which is where we work.
Right. And to clarify, it's not how we are going to. It's just how
could.
we are
How we could.
how we could possibly maybe in the coming 5 to 7 years possibly put together something that might happen at some point.
Yes. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of
Only-
myself.
Yeah, Molly. Gosh, slow it down.
Just would like to, the town of Newcastle put together, became involved with something called the Village Partnership Initiative, and through a few different engineering firms, and that did a traffic study of 2 intersections on Main Street in Newcastle that were identified by members of the town as well as the select board as places to maybe look at again, like the intersection of Main Street and River Road, and then where Academy Hill, Mills Road, and Main Street all kind of cluster at the bottom.
Don't we just love that intersection?
It is a strange little intersection. So I think both the residents of Newcastle and just the people of Lincoln County kind of understand, like, okay, like, yeah, maybe something to look at again. The intersection of Academy Hill and Mills Road has in the past been identified as a crash area. Now, that hasn't been the case, apparently, in the last few years, but there have been accidents there because it is kind of confusing if you're from out of town. We frequently see people stopping at the lights there, which are more of just like letting you know that, there's a see.
I did
Pipe's
that the first time that I drove through that intersection. I had no idea what was happening. I'm sorry, guys. I've mastered it by now.
Right.
But
Well, so the select board is looking at it in earnest, and they have been really good about putting together public workshops, about getting input about, not just traffic patterns, but traffic patterns that accommodate reasonable speed through the area, maybe some more green space on the sidewalks. So
That'd
this
be nice,
is really kind of an all-encompassing sort of Newcastle village area project. They're talking about really renovating the sidewalks going down Mills Road, where we work.
Yeah.
So all the way to Stewart Street. So they put a sidewalk on the opposite side. So there are just a lot of things being discussed. And right now we're just in the phase of what do people think? What are they considering? And the only real thing of note that was new news in this last meeting was that the engineering firm Wright Pierce out of Topsom is made a recommendation of all the available options that they came up with. They're like, we think this one would be. So they recommended at the intersection of River Road and Main Street a T intersection. Because right now it is, if you come off of River Road to merge onto Main Street, it's just a yield. So a lot of people turning over their shoulders looking back, and the engineer said it's actually pretty remarkable. There haven't been more crashes. That said, even though the layout right there, River Road, Main Street, is a little confusing, it has not been designated as like a crash area. So the T intersection is what it sounds like. One road meets the other.
Yeah.
Stop sign there. You can take left or right. That's what it is. And then at Academy Hill, it's going to be, they are recommended an intersection that is a 4-way stop with a 1-way slip lane coming from northbound traffic, people coming from River Road or Route 1 going into the Twin Villages.
that's interesting. Yeah.
So it's just almost what the intersection is now.
Yeah.
The intersection is a 3-way stop with free flow from from the Damascotta direction of traffic, and then 2 ways, from the River Road and Route 1 direction. So again, kind of it was a lot of writing about talking, and it was. So what came from that meeting is that they have submitted all of the options to the Department of Transportation, Maine Department of Transportation, to review and consider both. What like funding, how much they think that each project would cost, what do they have the budget for, and as the regional planner Steve Cole said in their December meeting, this is going to take a while. This is a long fuse. This is just the beginning of a long fuse conversation. So the total of all the recommendations, if we were to take all the recommendations from this engineering firm, the total cost of the project would be about $7.4 million, and projections of the town's responsibility would be about 10% of that. So something to consider, and there will be plenty more opportunities for people to talk about it and communicate with the town what they want
and think about it while they drive through.
And think about
what do I want to do right now?
while they've stopped inappropriately in the middle of the road.
Pause and think.
Pause and think.
Just kidding, please.
Yes.
Please keep moving if that is your right of way.
One rambunctious might be a word to describe that intersection, but also there've been some rambunctious things going on over in Somerville.
Oh, as usual. I just. Yes, out of all the towns that I cover, we've had more changeover in leadership in Somerville during my 14 months at the newspaper. And that's continuing with some new appointments to the Somerville Planning Board and one resignation. We had some vacancies on the Somerville Planning Board for a few months. And because of the timing of some select board resignations, which overlapped with those, they hadn't made the appointments until the other night on Wednesday, Feb 5th. But that evening, they reappointed John Bergen to the planning board. He was previously planning board chair And that was a tumultuous time, and he ultimately resigned from that role because, during a pre-termination hearing where he was accused by the town of creating a hostile environment and conspiring to keep people out of the meetings, from including the public and certain planning board members. So his reappointment, I reached him on the phone the other day, and he said, well, I knew that my reappointment was going to be, what was the word? Controversial. And he was like, but I'm willing to be back on the board. And it was controversial. And the next morning, somebody who was a planning board alternate, Christopher Johnson, resigned and pointed to Bergen's reappointment, saying that it was a move to stack the planning board in the favor of Willard Pierpont, who's our current Somerville Select Board chair. And he didn't want to be on the board with somebody who had, in his view, disrupted meetings, as I talked about, they discussed at the pre-termination hearing. So there's a lot of history in Somerville with the planning board, with the gravel pit, which is owned by Mr. Pierpont. And Bergen has owned that he has had public opinions about a lot of that. So I think that's where a lot of the controversy stems from. But it's definitely like a developing situation.
Yeah.
It sounds like it always is.
It is, yeah. It continuously is. But it's good that they filled the other two spots, which they appointed, Mike Tessio Jr. to a voting membership spot on the planning board. And they also promoted an alternate, Evan Morrison, to be a voting member. So, and John Bergen, I should mention, is going to be an alternate, which means that he won't have voting privileges unless somebody's absent, and he's appointed to have voting privileges by the chair.
Gotcha.
And the other alternate seat, so for like a 12-hour period, there was a fully staffed Somerville planning board, and now they're down an alternate again. So I don't know what will happen with that. There were also a lot of people who, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but more people who expressed interest in the role than were appointed. So I'm sure they'll be able to find somebody.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I, again, am always eager to hear how things are unfolding and how they continue to.
Yeah. I've been thinking about, like, when we were workshopping the editorial this week, I was thinking about love in terms of living in civic relationship with other people. And I think that there's two arms to that discussion. And an important part of it is that being super hyper involved and invested in the operations of your town is a form of love. And it's like, it can be really stressful to watch meetings go down in Somerville because people are expressing themselves so strongly, but it also is a sign that they all care so much about their town.
Yeah.
So people are kind of at loggerheads, but it's definitely a window into democracy at work.
Yes, which is certainly a labor of love because, the foundation of democracy is allowing each their voice, right? And to be heard And to be heard. And I think that becoming a fully fledged human is learning how to listen. And that's a really paramount part of love and democracy.
Definitely.
Love and democracy. Maybe that'll be our next podcast.
Love and democracy.
Well, Molly, you also, to just jump onto another thing that you wrote this week, there seems to be some things going on with the Madomic Valley High School again.
Yes.
You're so on the beat with those folks.
I love them. And yeah, we had a Madomic grad who's coming home to screen a feature film that she produced. Her name's Casey Montana. She was a member of the class of 2012. And she always wanted to work in the world of theater since she was a little kid doing plays at like the Lincoln Theater and the Waldo.
Amazing.
Or the Lincoln Center, in Rockland. And she went to school in New Hampshire, then she went to New York City to follow her dreams. And she, over the course of the past, like just a little over a decade, has become a production assistant. And then this is the first feature film that she's produced with her own production company. So anybody who wants to learn more can go to Meet Cute in Manhattan Movie on Instagram at Meet Cute in Manhattan Movie. And they just released the trailer the other day.
That's exciting.
That's amazing. It's an incredibly hard industry to thrive in. So
Yeah, because Piper Pavelich is also a filmmaker.
I wouldn't go so far as to call me a filmmaker.
But you're making a film.
Yeah, I guess.
What would you call yourself then?
Writer.
A writer. Nice.
I think my partner is more of the filmmaker of this duo. But yes, we have been working on a film together, and it's incredibly difficult. So it's amazing that Casey has been able to make her dream come to life.
Yeah, it was like an 80-person crew.
That's
it's like a huge
crazy.
effort.
Wow.
Yeah, they filmed part of the movie in Grand Central Station in New York City.
Oh my gosh.
Which getting filming rights there is tricky.
Yeah. That's amazing.
She said they had to do it in like an 8-hour window overnight.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah.
And to tease the movie, it's a rom-com, and she called it a love letter to rom-coms filmed in New York City. So there's lots of like Easter eggs and things, which makes it very Valentine's Day appropriate.
That's amazing.
Easter eggs as in Easter eggs from other films, like nods to other rom-coms?
Yeah, which they had oh my gosh, this is going to reveal that I don't know enough about rom-coms as I should, but for one of the promotional images, they had the lead, who's also, by the way, Casey's partner, business partner, Terrence Chen, pose in the same outfit as the guy who plays Harry in Harry Met Sally. Maya's going to help us out on this
Molly.
one.
What? You don't know who that
Well,
is?
it gets better. What's his name, Maya?
His name is Billy Crystal.
And then Billy Crystal, or that guy, he saw it and he sent them a picture of himself.
No way.
Doing the pose.
Oh, cute.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
So it's on his radar. It should be on everyone's
Oh my
radar.
gosh.
Meet cute in Manhattan, people.
I hope this crew is incredibly proud of themselves because that's amazing.
It's really exciting. So it's going to play before this podcast episode comes out at the Strand in Rockland.
Strand.
But you can go on their Instagram for information about other showings, and they're trying to option it with a streaming service. So hopefully it'll be accessible to all of us in the near future, because I really want to see it.
I know, that sounds so good.
Yeah. So speaking of love, Piper.
Yes.
Sorry, I almost called you Pipe Dog, which is our in-house
Which is
nickname.
it's your name, Pipe Dog.
If you'd like to call me that, that's fine on this podcast.
You heard a love story from Dresden, which I would love to hear more about.
This is the second week of our Couples of the County. And I had the pleasure of interviewing Jeff and Ann Pierce from Dresden. A lot of people over there know them. Ann works in the town office, and Jeff is the planning board chair, and he runs his own business, and he is also known for serving as a state representative for a few years. I think that was around 2014. So they're very community-focused people. And I got to hear the story of how they met and how they got to where they are today. And it was lovely. They met in the 80s at Popham Beach in Phippsburg.
Beach. Whoa.
And they go back every year for their anniversary.
That's so cute. So they just bumped
Cute.
into each other like playing Frisbee or something.
No, it's funny. They were introduced by a mutual friend who happened to be dating Ann's sister.
Ooh.
And they learned that Ann's stepdad already knew Jeff for like 6 or 7 years. They told me this story. Jeff went over to their house for dinner to meet the parents. And they did not know that Jeff was dating their daughter. And so he gets to the house and her stepdad sees him, and they're both just absolutely gobsmacked. They had no idea.
Whoa.
And they had known each other for a while. So it was really funny.
That sounds either really cute or really stressful.
I know. They thought it was funny. But so Jeff actually told me the story of how he proposed. He called himself really cool for it.
Sounds cool. Sounds like a cool dude.
He was a park ranger at Popham Beach. And so he had the keys to the gate to the beach, and he drove him and Ann out to one of the islands just off the beach at low tide and proposed to her at sunset out there.
Whoa.
And then they
Gorgeous.
got stuck.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say.
Out on the island?
Yeah,
Is
because
it
the
Fox
tide
Island
went
or
up.
which island?
What island?
It's either Fox Island or which island? That island right there.
I don't know. I can't remember. But
Well, if they got stuck out there, I hope it's just called Fox Island.
anyway, the tide went back up, and he had to call his boss to come rescue them. And his boss ended up being in his wedding party.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That's like if you were stuck on a desert island with someone, who would you want it to be?
Yeah,
if
right.
you were stuck
Someone
on
who
Fox
knew
Island.
someone with a boat turns out to be the answer.
Dang, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they have some fun stories.
He didn't look at a tide chart.
I guess not.
Well, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So, I mean, I guess they got off the island and they're been on their own island of love for a while.
Here they are, almost
Yeah.
40 years later.
Wow.
That's really sweet.
Yeah. Thanks, Piper. That's really cute.
Makes you want to go to Popham.
Yeah, you want to go to Popham?
Maybe not right now.
We can go later.
Very cold. Cold beach.
Cold, snowy.
Cold,
And-
snowy.
It's winter. It's wrestling season.
Oh, wrestling
And-
season.
Speaking of cold, it's wrestling season.
How's that for a transition?
Yeah, right? That's pretty good.
Thank you. Our one of our in-house sports reporter, Paula Roberts, who does many, many things here, including layout, but is a great sports photographer and reporter. She wrote a story about Lincoln Academy senior Cole Workman, who got his 100th pin this past week. Win. Oh.
Slightly different thing.
Who got his 100th career win this week. And what does that mean, Maya?
Oh, no. It just means he's won 100 matches.
So he probably has a ton more pins then.
No.
Oh, I don't know anything about wrestling.
So Cole Workman pins down a 100th career win. It could
just a
mean
play
that
on words.
he was he pinned
Yeah.
the person for his 100th win.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that he had 100 pins, but it does suggest that he was definitive in his in his victory.
Yeah.
Pinning someone is kind of the goal.
Yeah, I thought that was how you won.
It's one of the So pins. It's a really lovely,
Nice.
clever sports title.
Very nice.
Senior Cole Workman pins down 100th career win.
Which is accurate because he did, in fact, pin for his 100th win.
Amazing.
It
But
may not have been his 100th pin, but it was.
Wow.
correct.
I love to learn new things. But good job, Cole. I'm sorry for my confusion. And he said to Paula, "It shows my commitment to the sport and how hard I've worked. Hard work led me to being competitive and being one of the best in the state."
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, if you want to see him, he's going to compete tomorrow, Saturday, the 15th of February, which will have already happened when this comes out. So I'm sure we'll have more exciting news about Cole.
Yeah, absolutely. I sometimes wish that I had wrestled in high school.
Why?
Yeah.
It just is in sort of like an unexplored, like an old sport.
Mm-hmm.
Like basketball is kind of new, but wrestling is like something that people have been doing competitively for a very
Yeah.
long time. Like there's a selection of sports, and a lot of them are in like track and field, but like wrestling has like branched out and it's its own like. Like running that makes sense. Running is a thing that people like naturally were like very early on, like, I bet I'm faster than you. Right. And then the next step was like, I bet I can wrestle you and not kill you.
I bet I can beat you up without killing you.
Right.
At
Yeah.
first, it was like, if I kill you, whatever.
Yeah. But I've torn so many ligaments that I don't
my
imagine
gosh.
being a wrestler would have lent itself to not being injured.
It sounds like some really unfun injuries.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, truly terrifying. But yeah, no, so congratulations again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And also congratulations to the Wiscasset basketball team. They've got their second win, and their first one a few weeks ago was very historic because it broke a very long losing streak. But now they're kind of on fire, and they won 43-26 over North Haven on February 7th.
Whoa, that's
these,
about
these girls don't play. These girls do not
That
play.
is definitive. Yeah, the Wolverines are really clawing their way to victories.
Yeah.
Oh, I
which
see
is
what you did
awesome.
there.
Yeah, there we go. I just learned from a headline we just read. That's very cool. Yeah. Wow. That's an incredible uptick in winning production. Even if they won one more in 4 years, that would have been pretty substantial. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had
you're
been
right.
like 9 years. Yeah, so
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
great. Let's go Wiscasset. We believe in
Go
you.
Wiscasset.
I feel like I should be saying this since I'm the Wiscasset reporter.
Well,
You get to say it too. It's
you get
spreading.
to say it, yeah.
Wiscasset pride.
Yeah, Wiscasset.
woo Wolverines.
So we heard from Piper about Jeff and Ann Pierce, and the reason that we had a couple in this week's edition is by way of Johnathan Riley, who's our main contributor to Characters of the County, and you pitched, Jonathan. I don't know when, but the idea of doing Couples of the County. When did this all start?
Yeah, tell us, why are we doing this?
Well, it was an idea last February. And just asking permission, working with Maya, we were talking about putting together, characters, and it was like, it'd be a great opportunity to spotlight a couple. And during that process, I remember posting on my Facebook, just who are the couples in this county that you'd like to see?
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
And there were so many really wonderful responses. It was really evident that we could very easily have a whole month dedicated to couples in the spotlight. And so it was something that was there. We've talked about doing thematic months in the past, like doing maybe some municipal focused characters, or doing and some ideas don't always take some. We thought about doing characters outside of the county, doing months, sort of. But so just as an example of those thematic elements, but Couples of the County was one that was really easy to be we can do that. And if anything, we have too many now. Well, not too many. We just have a ton, so that we will have more than enough for this month. And who knows, we may slot away some of those interviews for maybe the next time we do it, or we just keep running with it for a little bit. But it does mark the first time that we have made a distinction, I think, in the Characters of the County title. And so for our listeners, for the month of February, it'll be Couples of the County. And it's a great opportunity, I think. And you guys have done your interviews already with your characters, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity to explore that sort of third thing, which is the relationship. When we interview people with characters, for a character piece, we focus on them. We focus on their history, sort of the philosophies of their life, and what are their interests outside of their work. And we're often, people are their work, but they, you get to learn about our friend Scott down at who is a co-owner down at King Iders. He loves playing Magic the Gathering. Really fantastic and whimsical.
I will say something about that too, is you including that in the article about Scott helped me learn something about one of our coworkers, because Sarah Caton, our advertising secretary, after reading the article was like, oh my God, someone else who plays. And I had this moment of
Sarah plays Magic?
Exactly.
Wow.
Sarah, that's crazy. Where are you,
awesome.
Sarah? Show me your deck.
She's busy.
No, she's not.
So it just shows another connection point of hey, this thing you didn't know about this person helps you learn this thing you didn't know about this person. And
And that's another point about the for me, the governing philosophies of the Characters of the County is that seeing the county, it's a successful column when the county feels like it sees a reflection of itself, maybe at angles it hasn't seen before. And the Couples of the County takes the interview, because you guys, I'm sure, have felt this, you get to hear about both of those people, but you hear about sort of a collective, third identity, which is their relationship, which is really what the interview is about. And that's an interesting space, because you're interviewing a relationship, and that is it's almost like this ethereal thing that is now the source of a column or part of our column. And I think that that is another part of the refraction of our community.
Totally. It's also more another level of complication in terms of the interview process.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
I will say that I've interviewed a couple for characters of the county before, and taking this specific lens at looking at the couple, but most especially their relationship, did help, because it's not like you're trying to encapsulate two people apart from their relationship and then also together, which we do attempt to do in this month's columns, but we also, like you said, take a more explicit focus. So I'm curious to hear about how you guys have found the interview process going when you have two people in front of you and you're asking them questions, because it's like, what was your childhood like? But also, when did you meet? You know, has it been smooth? Has it taken longer?
Yeah. You know, I usually don't get to like, what was your childhood like? But because unless it's pertinent to something else that informs the relationship, I mean, obviously it does, like your childhood does inform your relationship a bit, but unless they move it in that direction, I ask them like, you know, tell me about the first time you met, and what was that interaction like? When did you know the other was something different than what you'd experienced in the past? And then sometimes those are avenues into like, in the past, my relationships, you know, as a child, you know, what those. So we work our way kind of backwards through the lens
distinction
of the relationship, because it allows them to sort of bring to the table how they want to talk about themselves and how they like collaborate on that. It's been great. Last year, the characters, you know, that we did for Valentine's Day was Jared and Cheryl Pinkham, lovely folks over in Jefferson, and they were awesome. But I will say that when I did the interview, I asked them like, what have you learned about love from the other person? What is the, you know, secret to that success? And I'm friends with their kids, and I ran into one of their kids in the gym, and he was like, my parents never talk like that about them, about each other, you know? Yeah. And so I was like, oh, that sounds like a successful interview to me, that we were able to sit down, and the intention was to sort of like hold up their relationship and ask like, so when did you know? And what was that moment like? And what is the lesson that you're currently learning from your partner? And so like talking about those things has been, you know, of course, I wouldn't ask that of my mom and dad right now. Like I wouldn't naturally be like, hey mom, what are you learning from old daddy-o over there? What's yeah.
Can I put some of you on the spot right now? Because that's a very interesting question. Well, two of you are in separate relationships. So what are you learning from your respective partners right now?
After you, Pipe.
What's the filmmaker teaching you?
I think I'm learning to have grace with myself. I think that before I met my partner and in the early years of our relationship, I was very critical of myself. And I've been with him over 6 years now. And
whoa.
And I think that he has taught me to see myself in a way that I never would have before. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important, because it's hard to love somebody else if you don't also love yourself.
Yeah.
Word.
Absolutely.
So I would say that's one of the many things he's taught me. I could probably file through my brain and think of a million other things, but
that's beautiful, Piper.
Yeah, definitely.
So special.
Jonathan?
I think that Aiden and I just celebrated 4 years 2 days ago. And what I'm learning from Aiden is that love is, it's really interesting to like be with. Aiden is the first person that I've been with who I have felt like I'm actually with a partner. And, you know, I haven't, you know, dating is hard, and I haven't always felt like I've like, in hindsight, I realized I didn't always respect the people that I was with. Mm-hmm. And that was really like a big problem. And being with Aiden, I've known her for a very long time. We grew up together. I realized really quickly that I was already walking into a relationship where I like deeply respected the individual. And Aiden is such a she is the eighth wonder of the world to me.
She is a force.
Just a force to be reckoned with, but is like a force to be reckoned with in the same way that, like, when you look at on a sunny day, you feel a little bit warm, but you just like acknowledge that is an immense power. I am learning what love looks like as companionship, as as friendship, and as love too, as like romantic love. But Aiden and I have been together long enough where we have, if you were to cut the earth in half, you'd see its layers, and the molten core is this romanticism and is this deep respect and love. But the rest of it too, the core isn't actually that big. It's a lot of other stuff too. The day to day is like cleaning up after yourself in the kitchen, and keeping promises and following through and doing the things that maintain the core, that keep the core together. And so I'm learning from Aiden always that communication is really, really important, and that without communication there isn't love. So she's probably gonna listen to this. I don't know. Happy Valentine's Day, baby. Hold on, don't listen to this. We won't post this for a while. I'm gonna put that in the card I'm gonna write her later.
Oh my gosh.
I'll see if I can get you the transcript so you can perfectly encapsulate
I have an
it.
approximate memory. Hold on a second.
And that's what it's like dating a poet.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
I was gonna say, you totally just outdid me, but it was beautiful.
Those were great answers, guys. Like,
both
those are
great
really
answers.
sweet.
Yeah. Aiden and I went on an anniversary trip recently and got to stay in the cabin. We were going to sit down together and just free write for 15 minutes what the last 4 years have meant to each other. And we realized, like, we're tired. We want to have a glass of wine. Let's eat some cheese. I don't want to sit down and write. That's my job. So we didn't end up doing that. So I think that we might do something like that. But one of the things I remember thinking while I was like, oh yeah, I can write that down. So I was like, I remember writing down in my head that, I will, wherever you are, will be home. And I will always come home, wherever that is.
Johnathan, you're gonna make me cry.
Yeah.
So as long as you're the one answering the door when I come home, I'm okay with going anywhere.
Oh my goodness.
I can't look at you right now.
That and more. So, little side hustle plug here. If anyone wants me to write their Valentine's Day card,
Seriously.
Next year, there's already a waiting list.
Seriously.
Vows
or vows. I am officiating weddings soon, so I have to. I got to do that.
yeah.
Hey, Jeff Lamb, if you're on one of our listening platforms here, respond to my text, man. We need to sit down and talk about your wedding.
Wow. Good questions.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I was going to say, Molly, as we are both not in relationships.
What do I know about love from being single?
Yeah, what do you know about love? No, but what does love mean to you right now?
Or even that, I'm going to pose a tandem question. What has Hedgehog taught you about love?
Oh, that's actually
Let's
a better
talk about my
question.
18-year-old dog. Well, I think both questions, like Hedgehog would come in.
I need everybody to know that she's sitting right behind Molly and just staring at her.
She has been making sounds.
Oh, has she? I haven't even
I
heard it.
also need to point out that before we started recording this, Molly seated her chair to Hedgehog so that the dog would remain comfortable.
That might be love.
That
I
is
think
love.
that is love, yes.
I think like Hedgehog has taught me a lot about myself. Like I've always been an animal person, and when I briefly didn't have a pet, or actually for a while because I was in school, I felt this like lack of the opportunity to have like this outpouring to somebody or something who will like unconditionally accept it. And like Hedgehog, she does have her limits. She barked at me the other night for picking her up in too much enthusiasm. But like for the most part, I feel like we all have this need to express love to people, and there's really no limit to that. So like I don't think you can add too many people into your life. You could probably have too many pets, but I have one right now, so I'm good. But like when I didn't have a pet, I felt that strongly, and I'm really glad I have her now. And I also think, like, it's probably about trying to be present, because another thing about Hedgehog is that she's 18. And when I got her, she was 17. And I didn't expect her to live until now, to be honest. Knock on wood, she's in good health. But, like, it's been an exercise in... At first, I was like, it'll just be a hospice situation and I'll be fine with it. But now I'm like, I love this little creature so much.
Yeah.
But that just makes me want to be very present. And also, the last thing I'll say, and then I'll stop talking about Hedgehog, but thank you for letting me do, is she brings so much joy to other people. And I think that's like, she has no clue she's doing it, but like that's love too, you know?
I totally agree. Hedgehog has been a wonderful little addition to our, only in stature, addition to our...
Not in volume, not in smell.
Not in volume, not in aroma. She... is really so sweet that I personally don't... Oh, she
just barked.
She's hacking up some stuff. I don't default to liking other people's pets immediately. I generally don't like other people's dogs because mostly people are bad at training their dogs.
Yes.
And I think that that's a representation of neglect. So it's tough for me to see a badly trained dog.
Yeah.
So I default by not liking other people's animals. Hedgehog, very quickly, I was like, you are incredible. I think the earth just opened up and you crawled out of it.
Yeah.
And like, you are, when I get down to like pet Hedgehog, she's so excited. She recognizes the shadows and is just a genuine little source of excitement.
Coming for me.
This big shadow is very playful.
Yeah, she can't see well for listeners.
Yeah, she is mostly blind
and deaf,
and has only like a limited number of teeth.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, for those that don't know, I live with Molly and Hedgehog. And something that always brings a smile to my face is when I'm in my room and Hedgehog just walks through the door and stands there and stares at me for a second and then walks away like she's checking to see I'm still there.
Yeah.
It makes me feel very nice that she's like, your presence is still here, right?
Aww.
That's so sweet. Yeah. She's like, oh yeah, all right, good.
It's like, all right, everything's good here.
Carry on.
I know that Hedgehog loves Maia, and Maia loves Hedgehog. But
This
Maia,
is very true.
Can we hear about what love means to you before you have to go?
Yes. Love means nothing. No.
No.
Valentine's Day. We have to save that for later in the month.
No, I am very quick with friends and like people in my life, like saying I love you. Like I've said I love you to all three of you and meant it. Just because it's one of those things that, there are many different types of love, and like the love shared between friends is amazing and nothing compares to it. And so that's kind of where I am right now, is making sure my friends know that I love them and that I am so thankful to have them in my life.
Aww.
And they make it better. And that includes all of you.
Oh,
Yeah.
we love you too. And I think it's inspiring to meet people who are forthcoming like you are with your feelings. Also, you're not from New England originally. I don't know if it's the puritanical repression, but like
I'm coming in from the Midwest and I'm like, I am going to make you a casserole and you will love it.
And we're like, wow. But it's
we're like, where's the Midwest?
Okay, but quick side note, the number of people who, when I first moved here and continually to this day, when I say I'm from Iowa, think I'm talking about the state with all of the potatoes.
Yes.
Is startling.
Yeah, we don't learn about
The first thing I hear when I tell people I was born in Wisconsin, cheese.
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Cheese and corn.
And
the Packers.
go Pack.
And
Yeah. Love is not very outward love is not always natural for New Englanders. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to challenge myself to experience it and share it more. And you Midwestern people are so inspirational.
Molly, I love you.
I love you too, Piper.
I also want to point out you were the person who got us all Valentine's today. Well, you and Hedgehog.
Yes.
Which was a delight. So thank you.
Yes, of course. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody who listens to our podcast.
Yes.
It won't be Valentine's Day when you're listening, but
we still love you.
we still love you.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
That's true.
Thank you.
Love you.
Bye.
Say it back.
If you want to say it back, you can email us at info@lcnme.com.
Erin's going to get it, and she won't have listened to the podcast, and she'll
She'll be like, why is everyone telling me they love me?
Or if anyone wants to tell me that they love me directly, my email is jriley@lcnme.com.
Direct your inquiries that way.
Yes. Or if you have any other thoughts or feelings you want to express, Johnathan is there for you.
Yes, I might not respond, but I just know that I definitely got the email. I promise.
All right, we'll get you guys out of here so those of you with Valentine's Day plans can go, and those of us who are going to go watch a state basketball game can go do so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to Beyond the Broadsheet, a podcast by the Lincoln County News. Production support is provided by Tyler Davis of Tyality Productions. Theme music by Stu Mahan and Sherwood Olin.
Have a question or a suggestion? Email us at info@lcnme.com. And if you haven't already, please be sure to rate and subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen.
This has been a Lincoln County Publishing Company production.